Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at the Reborn 100 BAWOO. I will also mention that this is a Mecha Gaikotsu versus the backlog. Once again, this is, well, overdrive, because I have to get everything built so I can pack it, so I can get the hell out of here. Anyway, let us get this built. Plastic, 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 plastic. Let's go. And boom! That right there is what the Reborn 100 BAWOO looks like out of the box, snapped together with a tiny, and I mean tiny, little bit of extra effort. Let's get it spinning. So anyway, there is that full 360 spin of the Reborn 100 BAWOO, and this is one ridiculously over-the-top awesome mobile suit that just screams Xeon. Now I'm going to wind back a little bit just in case you're not familiar with the Reborn 100 line. This was a line of model kits designed by Bandai to go hand in hand with Master Grade. It's exactly the same scale, which is 1/100, but this is more like a scaled up high grade. The build is a lot simpler, so that meant Bandai on paper would have been able to make bigger mobile suits that outwardly match Master Grade but internally are a lot simpler, more lightweight, and cheaper to produce. This didn't necessarily work out, and that's why Reborn 100 seems to be shelved for now. A lot of them are a little bit on the disappointing side, especially as out-of-box builds, and I've got a whole bunch of reviews of them if you want to check them out. Now, I had given up on the line completely because I thought everything but the Zaku Kai and the Gerbera were, well, not worth your time. But that is not the case with the BAWOO right here. This is an absolutely impressive kit. It's because I built the Reborn 100 Lindworm, a premium Bandai variant of this with a very Zeta Gundam flair, that I thought I would give this one a go, and honestly I'm super glad that I did. As far as the Reborn 100 kits that I've built, this is definitely up there with the Gerbera and the Zaku 2 Kai as an absolutely fantastic model kit. Now just talking about the elements of this a little bit, it's a very simple kit, but the color separation is fantastic. The colors on here are great. There is a lot of surface detail on here, but this is something you're going to have to bring out yourself. This is a kit just begging to be panel lined. I did that with the Lindworm, which is very similar to this kit, and it just turned into an absolute beautiful masterpiece, and this one has the potential to do that too. Reborn 100 kits definitely need that little bit of extra attention. I actually think I wouldn't have given them such a bad rap in the past if Bandai had written something on the box along the lines of, these are not intended for straight out of box building, they will need a little bit more added to them. Usually with Bandai it's just snap, snip, put together and you've got yourself a masterpiece, but these time and time again showed that they needed that extra bit of work. So get this thing panel lined, like the little bit I've put up on the shoulders and head. I did add some of the stickers. These are just sticker style stickers, so they do show up. You can see the edges on them. They don't look that great. I'm not sure if there is water slides available, but if there is, I would highly recommend those over these. And what you get yourself is an absolute beast of a model kit that looks phenomenally beautiful. Anyway, let's get it slapped down beside some other Gunpla. So the BAWOO is a pretty big mobile suit. There it is side by side with the classic RX-78-2 Granddaddy Gundam, so it is a good deal taller, especially with that spike right there in its head, but it's not nearly as big as a behemoth like the Gundam Mark V. So now jumping into the accessories, and here's everything that comes with the Reborn 100 BAWOO. Now this is the usual Gundam mobile suit loadout of sword, board, and beam rifle, the sword being a pair of beam sabers, the board being that really beautiful shield right there, and of course the beam rifle is a beam rifle. Besides that, we've got a pair of adapters for attaching this onto an action base, and that is it. So when it comes to these Reborn 100 kits, the earlier ones like this right here were kind of like a scaled up high grade. So that does mean when it comes to the hands in here, we've only got the one pair, and these are the fairly standard-ish holding hands. Nothing expressive, no fists, no widespreads, just these ones right here. However, the sculpt and the joints of the BAWOO here do look quite good. So with nowhere to attach the weapons, it's just high-grade style of popping off that. There is a tab hole here, so we're going to be taking a look at the beam sabers first. There's a tab there. Pops in just like so, but a little bit loose. And then you just pop that little bit back on, just like so. So as for the beam sabers themselves in here, these are as standard as beam sabers come. But I will mention, oddly enough, this is the first ever beam saber that I needed to actually drill the hole in the end there a little bit wider because they did not fit. So there's an example of what the beam sabers look like attached into the hand. Once again, standard, regular enough beam sabers here with the beam in yellow. Now when these are not in use, just pop out the beam, and these can be stored into these slots on the forearms. Forearms is one of my all-time favorite places to store beam sabers, especially because you can do this right here, and pop it into the wrist with the beam attached, almost like a beam tonfa, like, I don't know, kind of like Assassin's Creed beam sabers. So next up in here, we've got the beam rifle. Now this is a nice large beam rifle. We've got one color piece around back, which is this wired section. We've got a sticker in the front right there for the sight segment, and we also have a tab on the hand for attaching it onto the unit. Now, we also have this segment up here, which you can pop out by grabbing this little bit right here for attaching it onto the bow during the transformation, which we'll take a look at later. Attaching it into the hand is the same as we saw before, just pop that bit off. It attaches via the tab into the hand, and I can assume by the fact that there's a tab on both sides that you can attach this into either or hand, and then you just close it up just like so. Anyway, there's a bit of a pose with it up in the air holding onto that beam rifle, and I have to say the more and more I pose this kit and play around with this kit, the more and more I fall in love with it. It looks so over the top, huge, and ridiculously Xeon. As for the base adapter in here, just clips on up inside of there like so. And then that can just attach into any square topped action base like that. And woo, that doesn't feel good, not at all. Yep, he's gone. So yeah, when he's up on there, you might want to be a little bit careful because that can be a little bit of a fall risk towards the front. But when it's clipped on, leaned back in the action base a little bit, it's not so bad. Next up in here is the shield. Now this is mainly in a dark maroon, which looks very unique and actually matches very nicely with the mobile suit. There's a lot of detail on here that's just begging to be lined, maybe some contrast paint put on there to actually just liven that up a little bit. And we've got some great detail coming through from the under layer, which are those cannons there in the front. Got that big old yellow symbol on there, and around back, this should probably be in gray, but as you can see, it is not, but the handle part, that is. So before I do actually go and attach this on, I will mention that both of these arms have one of these missile launcher containers. They open up like so, and those are gray, and they're in a nice little bit of detail. To attach this, it just clips onto that little part, just like so. Oh, it doesn't feel that secure. It holds on okay, but it didn't do the kind of click that I was hoping for. Anyway, that right there is what it looks like in a bit of a pose with the shield attached, and this is one fine looking shield. It does attach on in a little bit of a wimpy kind of way, but it will hold on if you're not moving it around too much. It looks absolutely beautiful though. Lastly then, what we've got in here is another base adapter. Now this is not for in the standard mode, this is for when it's transformed, but first, let's check out that articulation. So now jumping onto the articulation, and funny enough, the build strength on this is rock solid, which is exactly what I experienced with the Lindworm. However, it's not necessarily what I experienced with a lot of the early Reborn 100s. However, this won't drop out of a position whatsoever. Now, these kits tend to use the same one-size-fits-all polycaps, these ones right here, and they're not really the greatest most of the time, but somehow Bandai seems to have struck gold with this one right here. Now, let me know if you've got the Reborn 100 DJ. Is it this good? Because if it is, I want that too now. So anyway, throwing it into the usual position to try and test out all of the joints at once, and I have to say that this is definitely limited in a lot of places. But still, considering what it is and all of the factors involved here, it's Reborn 100, it's a very simple kit, and it is a big, bulky mobile suit. This honestly isn't that bad. The main limitations are you can't kick the legs up too much. All those skirting armors get in the way a lot. The arms don't raise up too far. There's no ab crunch. But besides that, it's really good. Here we've got a decent enough neck. It's only a ball joint, a single ball joint at that. There is a smaller ball joint underneath it, but you're not going to get much. So it's not going to look around too much. But in typical Xeon style, you are actually able to move the eye side to side. So it'll do all it's looking that Xeon way. As far as I can tell, there is no mechanism for actually doing that besides actually pulling the bottom segment out and moving it like I just did, but you could probably just stick a toothpick or something in there and move it around. There it is, looking off a bit. I mean, there it is. I just moved it. It wasn't a second ago, but that's cool. The shoulder design is nice, but does not move up with the arms too much, but if you can flip them if you want to, it doesn't look great, but it is a robot, shouldn't have to look like a human. The waist and abs is incredibly limited, only that little bit of a rotation and no forward and back. The front skirts get in the way of the legs quite a bit, but the bend at the knee is reasonable enough, and the elbows will get you pretty much what you need. On the whole, you'll only get a couple of poses out of it, but it looks goddamn good while doing it. So now jumping onto the transformation, and this splits in half and transforms into two parts. That is the BAWOO Attacker and the BAWOO Nutter. Now I'm doing this for the first time here on camera. I've never actually tried transforming this before because I just built it, but I have to say I am incredibly impressed by the Attacker, not so much the Nutter. But yeah, it's a seamless, very nice transformation, and there's a lot of actual moving aspects inside of the torso on this. It actually comes apart very nicely, transforms very nicely, and locks into position very well. The only thing that can be a bit floppy is the nose up front, but besides that, this is a very impressive transformation with no parts formation whatsoever. You attach on the rifle and the shield, but that is all. I'll also mention when I tried to take the base adapter off of the legs of the waist unit to attach it onto this, it would not come off. So that time it fell off earlier on, that was a fluke. This thing holds on rock solid. Good base adapter. Anyway, you attach that onto the beam rifle and then you can slap it up onto an action base. As for the Nutter, there's literally 3 movements to this. That is, you pop the feet into a point and push them into it. Twist the legs, then lock the legs. That is essentially it. There's not much to this at all, which I guess is lore accurate. It is the BAWOO Attacker that has all of the weaponry. That's the beam rifle up front, missiles on the wings, as well as the mega particle cannons in the shield round back. And it's one cool looking flight form. Honestly, I'm very, very impressed by the transformation here. It's just spiky, jet-like, and awesome. That was pretty cool. Anyway, that right there is it for the review, and I'm super impressed by this, just like I was with the Lindworm. This is up there with my favorite Reborn 100 kits being the Gerbera and the Zaku 2 Kai. This is a solid, good kit. Sure, it doesn't have too much articulation, it is simple, but what it does do, it does perfectly. It looks big, it looks Xeon, it looks awesome, the details are incredible, the transformation works out really well and is more detailed than I ever thought it would be, and just everything works out. Honestly, I have to say I highly recommend it, and as far as Reborn 100 kits go, this is gold tier. Or would it be platinum tier? Honestly, it's somewhere in between. I'm going to sort that rating system out sometime next year, I promise. Right now, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. As always, this video and every video would not be possible without each and every one of you guys who watches my videos. And special thanks to those of you who are supporting me over on Patreon and on the channel members, including Caleb Engelhart, Global Frequency Studios, Go Little Rockstar, Gunpla UK Limited, Joe, Kill Me Inc., Lawrence Seahack, RG59061, and Van Fawn.